Have you ever wondered how anything with feathers survives in a land that can melt your sneakers by noon? Yeah, welcome to Saudi Arabia, where the sand burns, the sky shimmers, and somehow, the birds still look fabulous. From falcons that dive faster than race cars, to flamingos that turn the salt flats pink, this kingdom isn't just oil and dunes. It's a runway for some of the planet's toughest, strangest, and most breathtaking wings. But here's the thing. These birds don't just live in the desert, they own it. They've turned survival into art, and every flap of their wings tells a story about heat, hunger, and hope. So here's my question for you. If you were dropped in the middle of the Arabian Desert, which bird's instincts would you rather have? The falcon's focus, the vulture's patience, or the sparrow's stubborn heart? Stick around till the end, because by the time we reach the dunes at sunset, you might just find your answer. What's the fastest thing in Saudi Arabia? No, not a Lamborghini tearing across the Riyadh highway. It's this bird, the peregrine falcon, a living missile wrapped in feathers. When it dives, it hits more than 240 miles per hour. That's not fast for a bird. That's just fast, period. Picture this, a pigeon minding its own business, sipping dew off a rock at sunrise, and suddenly, boom, it's part of a slow-motion nature documentary that ends badly. The falcon doesn't chase, it drops. It folds its wings, locks its eyes, and lets gravity do the rest. It's the desert's silent thunderbolt. No roar, no warning, just one heartbeat and you're gone. Tell me, is that skill or just the most elegant form of cheating nature ever invented? In Saudi Arabia, this bird isn't just respected, it's revered. Falconry here isn't a hobby, it's heritage, royalty, and obsession all rolled into one. A single peregrine can sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and yes, some even have passports. While you're arguing with airport security about your toothpaste, this bird might be flying business class to Doha. But beneath the prestige and poetry, it's still a creature of pure grit. It rides the desert thermals, perches on cliff edges or skyscrapers, watching over a kingdom that's half sand, half sky. It's the bridge between ancient hunts and modern skylines. Its heart beats 1,000 times per minute during a dive, faster than any drummer alive. And yet it never loses focus, never blacks out. Every second is perfect precision. Not long ago, though, its story almost ended. Pesticides poisoned its prey, and the fastest bird on Earth began to vanish. But the peregrine did what legends do. It came back. Now it soars again over dunes and towers alike, a survivor wearing the crown of speed. So tell me, if you could borrow one thing from this desert hunter, would you take its breathtaking speed or its power to rise again after the fall? If the peregrine is speed, then the saker falcon is power. Think of it as the Arabian Desert's heavyweight champion. Not the flashy sprinter, but the one that grabs you by the throat and wins through sheer will. It doesn't dive from the sky like a missile. It ambushes with precision, a muscular predator built for endurance, not ego. This falcon was once the crown jewel of Arabian kings. Bedouin hunters prized it for centuries. They called it the friend of the brave. Why? Because the saker hunts what others fear. Geese, ducks, even hares sprinting across the sand. No mercy, no hesitation, just desert royalty doing what royalty does best, ruling. And here's the wild part. This falcon can see a moving target from over a mile away. That's like spotting your Uber from the next city. When it locks in, it becomes poetry in pursuit, a mix of muscle, instinct, and millennia of evolution tuned to perfection. There's something almost poetic about the relationship between Saudis and their falcons. In a land where survival is never guaranteed, they admire creatures that never quit. The saker's not just a hunter, it's a symbol, a reflection of courage, loyalty, and control over chaos. But here's the kicker. Even this desert king isn't untouchable. Habitat loss and illegal trapping have pushed it to the edge. In the wild, sakers are vanishing faster than they can be bred in captivity. And yet the people who love them most, the falconers, are now leading the charge to bring them back. See the irony? The the same hands that once captured them are now protecting them. That's not hypocrisy. That's evolution. A rare case where tradition and conservation fly on the same wing. So let me ask you, when strength meets compassion, which one truly defines a king? The power to rule or the wisdom to protect what you rule? If the sacker is the king, the Barbary falcon is the rogue prince. Smaller, faster, moodier, and with a flair for the dramatic. You could say it's the James Dean of the falcon world. All speed, no patience, and a permanent glint of rebellion in its eyes. This bird was born for the desert winds. While others soar high or stalk from perches, the Barbary hugs the dunes, slicing through the air just above the heat shimmer. It hunts in stealth. No scream, no warning. Just a sudden blur of feathers and fury. If the peregrine is lightning, the Barbary is a mirage with talons. It's also one of the most misunderstood falcons. People once thought it was just a smaller peregrine, a desert knockoff. But DNA said otherwise. Turns out this little outlaw evolved its own rules. Lighter frame, faster turns, sharper vision. It doesn't play by nature's book. It rewrote a few chapters. You can find it along Saudi Arabia's western cliffs, where it nests among the rocks, staring down the Red Sea. It's a survivor in places where the sun cooks everything else into silence, and yet somehow it still looks good doing it. Sleek, golden brown, built like a desert sports car. Fun fact, Barbary falcons are romantics. They mate for life. Once they choose a partner, they stick together for every hunt, every migration, every storm. A pair of outlaws, partners in crime, patrolling the same stretch of sky for decades. Who knew the desert's deadliest duo were also lovebirds? But here's a twist. This falcon is quietly disappearing. Urban sprawl and power lines slice through its nesting cliffs. In some regions, there's only one pair left per 100 miles. Yet somehow it endures. Not by fighting harder, but by adapting faster than anything else around it. So what do you think? In a world where survival means bending the rules, is rebellion really a flaw or just another kind of genius? Now, if the falcons rule the air with speed and precision, then the golden eagle rules with sheer presence. It doesn't need to prove anything, it just is. The desert doesn't bow often, but when this bird takes flight, even the wind seems to make way. Picture it, a 7-foot wingspan gliding over the rocky highlands of western Saudi Arabia, eyes locked on the ground below, searching for movement. A fox, a hare, or maybe just the unlucky shadow of one. It doesn't waste energy. It waits, watches, strikes once. If the peregrine is a bullet, the golden eagle is a sword. Silent, precise, and devastatingly final. For centuries, this bird has been the symbol of courage and royalty across Arabia. Even its feathers were once traded like treasure, and tribal stories spoke of warriors who took oaths beneath its wings. It's not just a predator, it's mythology with talons. Here's something wild. An eagle's eyes are so sharp, it can spot a rabbit 2 miles away. That's like reading a license plate from the next town over. And those talons, each one can crush with a force strong enough to break bone. It doesn't chase, it commands. But there's another side to the story. This monarch of the mountains has to fight for survival. As roads carve into cliffs and power lines lace the sky, the golden eagle's kingdom keeps shrinking. Yet it adapts, building nests on cell towers, hunting near farms, learning to live alongside the very world that pushed it away. There's something almost human about that. We all crave power, but the real test is how we handle loss. The eagle doesn't complain when its world changes. It just finds another current, another cliff, another way to rise. So tell me, when life strips away your throne, would you rather fight for what you had or fly higher to find something new? Every desert has its wanderer, and in Saudi Arabia, that title belongs to the steppe eagle. It's not the flashiest bird, not the prettiest either, but it might just be the toughest. This eagle doesn't sit still. It travels thousands of miles from the plains of Central Asia, crossing mountains, drought, and sandstorms, just to spend winter under Arabia's sun. Imagine that journey. No GPS, no snack breaks, just instinct and an invisible map written into its bones. When it finally lands on Saudi soil, it looks around like, yep, home again, as if a few thousand kilometers were just a short commute. You can spot it around abandoned farms or power poles, big, brown, and broad-winged, like a warrior wrapped in sand and wind. And when it spreads its wings, it feels ancient, like you're watching something that remembers the earth before cities, before roads, before noise. Here's something most people don't know. The steppe eagle was once chosen as Saudi Arabia's national bird. It represents endurance and strength, the spirit to keep going even when everything burns. Fitting, right? A desert country ruled by a traveler who never gives up. But this king has fallen on hard times. Power lines electrocute them by the dozens each year, and landfills full of toxins have turned their feeding grounds into traps. The same modern world that admires them is quietly wiping them out. Yet the steppe eagle refuses to quit. It changes its routes, hunts smarter, and learns faster than the obstacles it faces. It's not just a survivor, it's a strategist. When the wind turns cruel, it doesn't fight it, it uses it. Now tell me, isn't that the secret to surviving anything? Not brute strength, but the wisdom to bend without breaking? So here's your challenge. When life throws you a sandstorm, will you curse the wind or learn to ride it like the steppe eagle? Now here's a bird that proves brains can beat brawn, the Egyptian vulture. It's not big, it's not loud, and honestly, it looks like a bald chicken that forgot sunscreen. But underestimate it, and you'll lose a battle of wits to one of the smartest survivors in the desert. While most birds of prey rely on strength, this one relies on something rarer: strategy. When it finds an ostrich egg too thick to crack, it picks up a rock, flies a few feet above, and drops it right on the shell. That's not instinct, that's tool use. Basically, this bird invented the hammer before we did. You'll spot it gliding low over Saudi deserts, white feathers glowing gold in the sun, scanning for leftovers, bones, scraps, and yes, sometimes elephant dung. It's the cleanup crew of nature, the one that keeps the desert from turning into a graveyard. And somehow, it does it with style, head held high, feathers ruffled like a tiny desert professor on a field trip. But don't let the goofy walk fool you. These vultures migrate thousands of miles every year, crossing seas and mountains to reach Arabia's warm cliffs and open plains. They've been doing it for centuries. Ancient Egyptians even painted them on tomb walls, believing they were symbols of motherhood and rebirth. Imagine that. A bird that eats the dead, representing life. Still, even the clever ones aren't safe. The Egyptian vulture is now endangered, poisoned by pesticides, starved by shrinking habitats, and pushed aside by power lines and pollution. Yet every year, a few stubborn survivors return, just to remind us that intelligence isn't just human, it's evolutionary. So let's be honest, if you had to survive the Arabian desert, would you rather have the falcon's speed or the vulture's brains? Because one fades when the hunt ends, but the other, it always finds a way to eat. You know how some birds are loved for their beauty, others for their song? Yeah, the griffon vulture doesn't care about any of that. It's not here to look pretty, it's here to finish the job. In the grand design of the desert, this bird is nature's janitor, and honestly, it does the dirty work better than anyone else. Picture a massive brown shadow circling over Saudi Arabia's cliffs. 10-foot wingspan, bare head, eyes like cold amber. It doesn't rush. It waits, because it knows one thing the rest of the wild forgets. Sooner or later, everything stops moving. When it lands, the desert goes silent. The king is dead, the scavenger reigns, and somehow, there's poetry in that. What the falcon kills, the vulture purifies. Without it, the sand would rot with disease. With it, life resets. You could say it's the bird that keeps death clean. Now here's the surprising part. Griffon vultures aren't just desert dwellers. They're architects. They build huge nests, sometimes weighing hundreds of pounds. And they do it on the steepest, most impossible cliffs you can imagine. They raise chicks where even eagles wouldn't dare to stand. And when they take off, They use the hot air rising from the sand like an elevator to heaven. No flapping, no panic. Just pure mastery of the wind. But this guardian has fallen from grace. Once common across Arabia, it's now vanishing. Victim of poison, wires, and our growing fear of anything ugly. The truth is, the world needs its villains just as much as its heroes, and this bird plays both roles perfectly. So here's a thought. If you could erase death from nature, would you really want to? Because without creatures like the griffon vulture, the desert wouldn't just lose its cleanliness, it would lose its balance. When the sun finally gives up and the desert cools, something ancient stirs between the cliffs. Two orange eyes ignite in the dark, and every rodent, snake, and unlucky bird suddenly remembers it left the stove on somewhere else. That's right, the night shift has begun, and the boss is the Eurasian eagle owl. This isn't your friendly little hoo-hoo forest owl. No, this one's the size of a small dog, with wings as wide as a car door, and talons sharp enough to make a falcon nervous. It doesn't sing lullabies. It drops from the black sky like a ghost in feathers. 1 second, silence. The next, gone. If the falcon is the day's bullet, this owl is the night's knife. It rules the rocky valleys of western Saudi Arabia, nesting in caves, abandoned quarries, even old ruins. You'll never see it unless it wants you to. And if you do, congratulations. It already saw you 10 minutes ago. Here's the cool part. The Eurasian eagle owl can hear a mouse's heartbeat under sand. Its ears aren't symmetrical, one's higher than the other. So it can triangulate sound like a living radar. No thermal vision needed, no gadgets. Just perfect silence and perfect timing. But here's the plot twist. This fierce hunter mates for life. Every night the pair calls across the valleys, a duet that echoes through the dunes like an ancient spell. It's not scary once you know what it is. It's love, in the language of predators. Still, humans haven't made its life easy. Mining, lights, and wind farms have pushed it into smaller corners. Yet somehow, it adapts, trading cliffs for skyscrapers, taking the night wherever it can find it. So tell me, if darkness were a kingdom, would you rather be the one who hides from it, or the one who learns to see through it like the eagle owl? If the Eurasian eagle owl is the emperor of the night, then this one is the royal jester. Small, serious, and accidentally hilarious. Meet the little owl, a bird barely bigger than your hand, but with an attitude large enough to fill the whole desert. It doesn't soar, it stares. That's its superpower. Perched on a rock or fence post, it looks like a grumpy old man judging the entire ecosystem. Even its eyebrows, those fierce, V-shaped feathers, say, "Really? That's what you're wearing today." But make no mistake, this tiny owl runs a tight neighborhood watch. From the dunes of Tabuk to the farms near Al-Ula, it keeps the night in order. Mice, gone. Insects, gone. Lizards, let's just say, accounted for. It's the desert's smallest predator with the biggest work ethic. And here's the funny part. It hunts by moonlight, but naps in broad daylight, usually on the same rock it hunted from. If you get close, it doesn't fly. It just tilts its head as if to say, "You again." It's got that mix of bravery and laziness that every cat owner will recognize instantly. Fun fact, little owls were sacred to the ancient Greeks, symbols of Athena, goddess of wisdom. So yes, this bird's scientific name, Athena noctua, literally means Athena of the night. From mythology to Middle Eastern deserts, not bad for a bird that weighs less than your smartphone. Still, survival isn't a joke out here. Farm expansion and pesticide use have cut their hunting grounds in half. But somehow they adapt. They move into barns, road signs, even traffic lights, as if saying, if humans are invading my desert, I'll just move into their cities. So tell me, when the world gets louder and brighter, would you rather shout to be heard or stay small and let silence do the talking, like the little owl of the sands? Now here's a plot twist. The red-tailed hawk, A bird most Americans know from backyard telephone poles and national park skies somehow shows up over Saudi Arabia. Yeah, you heard that right. This North American native occasionally wanders halfway around the world as if it took one wrong turn at Albuquerque and just kept flying. Picture it gliding over the dunes, rusty tail flashing like a desert sunset. Every move looks effortless, but that's the trick. This bird makes gravity look like a friendly suggestion. It rides the thermals with a chill confidence that says, "I've been doing this longer than your civilization's been taking selfies." It's got a hunting style halfway between patience and poetry. It soars for hours, scanning every ripple of sand, then drops like a feathered hammer when a lizard twitches. One hit, one meal, one perfectly timed strike. It's the cowboy of the raptor world, calm, confident, and always a little dramatic. Now, if you're wondering how a bird from Arizona or Texas ends up in Arabia, that's the beauty of migration. Sometimes nature doesn't draw borders. Strong winds, long instincts, or maybe just curiosity push a few explorers east. And when they see the vast golden emptiness of the Saudi desert, they probably think, yeah, this'll do. Fun fact, the red-tailed hawk's cry, that high-pitched scream you hear in every Hollywood movie, isn't actually an eagle sound. Filmmakers just love it because it sounds like freedom. So every time you hear that screech echo in an action scene, remember, it's this guy, not an eagle. But even for this wanderer, life isn't easy. Changing weather, disappearing prey, and global chaos mean fewer safe places to land. Still, it adapts. A stranger who never overstays, a reminder that wilderness doesn't belong to any one country. So let me ask you, in a world obsessed with belonging, isn't it kind of amazing that one bird can feel at home? Anywhere the sky looks wide enough? Not every desert hunter needs to be huge or terrifying. Some rule the sky with finesse, not force. Meet the common kestrel, a bird so small it could fit in your glove, yet so skilled it can hang motionless in midair, as if the laws of physics took a coffee break just to admire it. You've probably seen it, rusty brown wings fluttering fast against the wind, head locked perfectly still, eyes locked on a target far below. Then, boom! A dive, a puff of sand, and one unlucky insect becomes lunch. It's not just hunting, it's choreography. Every hover, every twist, every drop looks rehearsed, but it's pure instinct, polished by millions of desert afternoons. Kestrels are like the street performers of the sky. They make danger look like art. While eagles rely on power and vultures on patience, the kestrel wins with timing and a touch of attitude. When you see one hovering in the heat shimmer above the dunes, it feels almost magical, like the desert is holding its breath to watch. Fun fact, this little falcon can see ultraviolet light. That means it can literally track the urine trails of rodents, yes, glowing pee, to find its next meal. So while we're stumbling with flashlights, the kestrel's out here running CSI, Desert Edition. Despite its grace, life's not all smooth flight. Strong winds, scarce prey, and human expansion make every hunt a gamble. But the kestrel doesn't complain, it just adapts. You'll see it perched on power poles, using human structures the same way it uses cliffs. That's not desperation, that's intelligence with wings. And here's the thing, for all its elegance, it still fights the same battle every creature does. How to stay steady when everything around you moves. So tell me, if you could freeze yourself in midair for just one moment of perfect focus, what would you aim for before gravity called you back down? If birds had Fashion Week, the hoopoe would be the runway closer. That orange crest, pure drama. Those black and white wings, bold stripes, no apologies. It's the kind of bird that walks into the desert like it owns the place. And honestly, with that look, who's arguing? But beneath the fabulous feathers lies one of the oldest legends in Arabia. The hoopoe isn't just a bird here, it's a messenger. In Islamic tradition, it's said to have carried words between King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, a bird of truth, wisdom, and just enough attitude to speak to kings. Not bad for something that spends half its day poking the ground for bugs. Watch it hunt, and you'll see what I mean. Long, curved beak, twitchy head, strutting like it's late for a meeting. Every few seconds, boop, out pops a beetle or a worm, gone in one gulp. It's messy, efficient, and weirdly satisfying. And that call, hoopoe, hoopoe, that's where the name comes from. Some say it sounds funny, others say it's soothing. Either way, once you hear it echo across the dunes at sunrise, it's impossible to forget. The desert feels alive again. Fun fact, hoopoes coat their feathers with oily secretions that smell awful, a natural defense against predators. So yeah, it's the only bird in the desert that looks like a perfume ad, but smells like a biology lab. Glamorous and gross, the perfect contradiction. But here's the deeper truth. The hoopoe doesn't just survive in the desert, it balances it. It eats pests, aerates soil, and spreads seeds. Every bug it catches is a tiny victory for the ecosystem. So what do you think? If beauty and brains could smell a little weird, would you still call it perfect? Because the hoopoe sure seems to think so. Not every hero in the desert has talons or a crown. Some wear the color of sand and win by simply staying alive. Meet the desert sparrow, a tiny, unremarkable bird at first glance, but one that carries the soul of Arabia in its feathers. While the big predators rule the skies, this little one rules endurance. It doesn't migrate, doesn't escape the heat, it just stays all year through blazing summers and freezing nights. Every grain of sand, every dry bush, every whisper of wind, that's its kingdom. It's the desert's quiet heartbeat, the kind you only hear if you listen long enough. You'll find them hopping between camel tracks, sharing shade with lizards, or stealing crumbs from travelers' camps. They're not shy, they're family birds, social, chatty, always in little groups like a neighborhood gossip circle. If survival had a soundtrack, it would be their soft, cheerful chirping echoing through an ocean of silence. Here's the wild part. They can go days without drinking water. Instead, they pull moisture from their food, seeds, insects, whatever the desert gives. It's like they've hacked biology itself, turning scarcity into strategy. And somehow, in all that heat and emptiness, they still find time to build homes. Tiny woven nests tucked into thorny shrubs, lined with feathers and scraps, safe enough to raise new life in a world that tries to burn it away. The desert sparrow doesn't get documentaries or royal names, but if you ask the Bedouins, they'll tell you this bird is a friend, a sign that life, however small, refuses to surrender. So tell me, when everything around you says, give up, would you rather be the loud one trying to conquer it, or the quiet one that simply endures, like the little desert sparrow that never leaves its home? If the desert ever had a sense of rhythm, it came from this bird, the white wagtail. Slim, graceful, always moving, it looks like someone wound it up and forgot to hit stop. You'll see it darting across a dusty courtyards, puddles, and even camel tracks, tail flicking up and down like it's keeping tempo to a beat only it can hear. While vultures glide and falcons dive, the wagtail just vibes. It doesn't need to dominate the sky. It owns the ground beneath it. Every wag of that long black and white tail feels like it's saying, yep, I'm here. Still fabulous, still alive. They arrive in Saudi Arabia as winter guests, escaping the cold north for a few months of sunshine. Not bad migration planning, right? Europe freezes, Arabia glows. And these little dancers make the best of both worlds. They feed near water, farms, or even gas stations, darting after insects with acrobatic hops and sharp turns. It's like watching a feathered ballerina who also works in pest control. Here's a fun detail. That constant tail wagging. Scientists still aren't totally sure why they do it. Some think it's a signal to predators. I see you, don't bother. Others say it's just joy. Because when you watch one skipping along the sand at sunrise, it really does look happy to exist. They're not showy birds. No gold, no crimson, no dramatic crests. Just clean, sharp contrast. Black, white, and pure motion. Minimalism, perfected. And in a land of extremes, that simplicity somehow feels like peace. But here's what makes them special. They remind us that not every survivor has to be fierce. Sometimes the world belongs to those who keep moving, one tiny step, one tiny wag at a time. So what about you? When life feels like a desert of routines, would you rather fight to stand still or dance through it like the white wagtail? Every desert has its surprises, and this one's got a serial killer with feathers. Meet the great gray shrike. Cute name, right? Don't be fooled. This little bird looks like it should sing love songs at dawn, but it's actually the Hannibal Lecter of the Arabian skies. It doesn't have the claws of an eagle or the speed of a falcon, so it had to get creative. When it catches prey, insects, lizards, even small birds, it impales them on thorns or barbed wire, turning the desert into its own personal horror movie set. One look at that macabre buffet, and you realize nature doesn't need to be big to be brutal. Still, there's something fascinating about it. The shrike hunts with intelligence, not rage. It plans ambushes, uses landmarks, even stores food for later. It's half hunter, half hoarder, a perfectionist in a wasteland where mistakes mean hunger. Watch it for a while and you'll see the rhythm, the stillness before the strike, the flash of silver wings, the proud little posture as it pins another trophy. It's not cruelty, it's survival sharpened to a point. Fun fact, shrike actually means butcher bird, and across Arabia, locals respect it for its cunning. Some even call it the sentinel, the watcher who never blinks. It perches high on acacia trees or power poles, surveying its kingdom like a silent judge with a sharp stick. Of course, modern life hasn't made it easy. Fewer thorn bushes, more wires, less prey. But the shrike adapts. It turns fences into hunting perches and barbed wire into dinner racks. Industrial wasteland? To this bird, it's just home improvement. So tell me, if the world gave you nothing but thorns, would you curse them or use them the way the shrike does, as tools to build your own strange kind of power? When night falls and the desert turns silver, most creatures go quiet, but not this one. Somewhere out there between the dunes and the starlight, a long, eerie cry echoes through the dark. It's not wind, it's not a lost soul, it's the Eurasian stone-curlew, the ghost singer of Arabia. You might not see it at first. It blends perfectly with the sand. Pale feathers, long legs, golden eyes that glow like firelight. During the day it vanishes, standing still for hours, pretending to be a rock. Then as the sun sinks, it wakes up, stretches those legs, and starts its haunting night shift. Its call, part wail, part whistle, sounds like a cross between laughter and heartbreak. If you've ever camped under a Saudi sky and heard it, you know it stays with you. It's like the desert itself is speaking in riddles. The stone-curlew is built for stealth. It hunts in moonlight, creeping across the sand to catch beetles, lizards, or anything small enough to disappear into its beak. It doesn't chase. It glides, quietly, efficiently, the assassin of the half-light. Fun fact, despite that spooky voice, it's a devoted parent. When danger comes near the nest, the adults will limp away, faking injury to lure predators from their chicks. Imagine caring so much that you'd act helpless in a world built on survival. That's desert drama at its finest. And yet people hardly ever see them anymore. Urban sprawl has stolen their silence, turning the ancient whisper of the desert into background noise behind truck engines and neon lights. Still, somewhere out there, a few stone-curlews keep singing, a melody older than any city, a love song to the emptiness itself. So tell me, if the world forgot your song, would you stay quiet or keep singing anyway, just to remind the dark you're still here? Every great journey has a wanderer who shouldn't still be alive, but somehow is. Meet the sociable lapwing, a bird that flies thousands of miles from the steppes of Central Asia to Saudi Arabia's winter plains, crossing mountains, deserts, and every possible wrong turn, just to land in a place where most life gives up. It's small, elegant, and carries a name that sounds like a joke. Sociable. Because honestly, you'd have to be very sociable to survive this trip. They travel in flocks, hundreds together, a feathery caravan of survivors taking rest stops on salt flats, fields, and shallow wetlands. They chatter constantly, like tourists arguing about who forgot the snacks. But here's the heartbreaker. There might be fewer than 2,000 left in the entire world. Once they painted the winter skies of Arabia silver and white. Now spotting even a few is a miracle. Habitat loss, illegal hunting, and the collapse of traditional migration routes have turned their ancient highway into a minefield of extinction. Still, they come. Every year, against every odd, these little optimists show up, tails fluttering, wings sharp, still trusting the wind to guide them home. And they're gorgeous when they land. Long legs, soft brown plumage, and a white eyebrow that gives them this permanent look of polite surprise, as if they can't quite believe they made it again. Fun fact, lapwings often fake injuries, flopping dramatically to lure predators away from their nests. The Meryl Streeps of bird survival. They act, they trick, they live. But what makes them truly sociable is how they protect each other. When one spots danger, the whole group rises in alarm, a wave of wings that confuses the enemy and saves the clan. Teamwork written in feathers. So tell me, when the road gets dangerous, would you rather fly solo and fast, or slow and together, like the sociable lapwing, trusting that survival's a team sport? In a land ruled by heat and dust, grace seems impossible. And yet, out steps the black-winged stilt, a bird so elegant it looks like someone stretched it out just to make it stylish. Long pink legs, black and white feathers, crisp as a tuxedo. It doesn't walk through the marshes, it glides. Even standing still, it looks like it's about to start a ballet no one else can perform. You'll find it in the wetlands of eastern Saudi Arabia. Thin sheets of water shimmering like glass, and there they are, a dozen stilts, picking through the shallows with the poise of dancers on tiptoe. They move in perfect rhythm. Dip, step, pause, repeat, turning lunch breaks into choreography. But don't let the elegance fool you. Those legs aren't for fashion. They're survival tools. They wade where other birds sink, hunting small crustaceans and insects in waters too deep for sparrows and too shallow for herons. In the desert, finding that in-between space is everything. Here's something to love. Stilts are fiercely protective parents. When danger comes close, they'll fake broken wings, scream, and even charge at predators 10 times their size, just to save their chicks. Imagine something that delicate being that fearless. That's not just grace, that's guts. Fun fact, their legs are so long that when they sit in the nest, their knees stick out behind them like pink chopsticks. It's impossible not to smile when you see it. Even the desert gods must laugh a little. They live between extremes, between land and water, beauty and survival. A reminder that even in the harshest place on earth, there's room for elegance and a little bit of attitude. So tell me, if you had to live in a world that tried to break your balance every day, would you fight to stand tall or just learn to walk on water like the black-winged stilt? Every desert needs a little magic, and the greater flamingo brings it in the form of a moving sunset. Picture it, hundreds of tall, pink birds standing knee-deep in shallow water, their reflections shimmering against the heat haze like a mirage come to life. At first glance, you think, that can't be real, but it is. The Arabian Gulf's most unexpected guests. They migrate here from Africa and southern Europe, crossing oceans and deserts to find these rare wetlands. Places like Jubail, Al-Khobar, or the Sabkat lagoons, where salt meets sky and silence hums like a prayer. And then, suddenly, the horizon turns pink. Thousands of them, feeding, preening, moving as one. It's not just a scene, it's a choreography of survival. They eat by stirring the mud with their feet, then filtering out algae and shrimp with those upside-down beaks. Yep, they eat upside down. And the more shrimp they eat, the pinker they get. So, technically that color? It's diet-based fashion. Flamingos are basically living proof that you are what you eat, just in haute couture form. But their story isn't all glamour. Flamingos are fragile giants. Too much pollution, too little water, and the entire colony can vanish overnight. They need peace, quiet, and space. 3 things deserts don't give easily anymore. Yet somehow, every year, they come back. Against all odds, the world's most flamboyant birds find grace in a land built on restraint. They don't belong here, but the desert doesn't seem to mind. Maybe beauty doesn't need permission to exist. It just needs a place to stand. So tell me, if you could bring one color back to a colorless world, would you choose something calm? Or would you choose pink, like the flamingos who turn saltwater into art? After all the predators, kings, and ghostly voices of the night, we end with something softer, the laughing dove, a small, peach-colored bird that doesn't soar or stalk or scream. It just coos, quietly, persistently, beautifully. You'll find it almost everywhere in Saudi Arabia, from the empty dunes to the crowded streets of Riyadh. It doesn't care whether you live in a palace or a tent. If there's a bit of grain, a drip of water, and a place to sit in the morning sun, the laughing dove will be there. Simple needs, simple joy. Its call, that gentle, rolling hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo, sounds like someone chuckling softly under their breath. Not loud enough to demand attention, but warm enough to fill the silence. That's how it got its name, not because it laughs at life, but because it laughs with it. They mate for life too. 2 tiny doves building tiny nests out of twigs and hope, raising chicks through dust storms and heat waves. They never stop trying, never stop singing. There's something profoundly human in that, don't you think? Fun fact, when startled, they burst into flight with a sound like snapping silk, wings flashing blue and cinnamon in the sun. For a moment, even the desert looks alive, a heartbeat of color against all that gold. The laughing dove doesn't need fame or feathers of fire. It just reminds us that peace can be powerful too. After all, not every desert hero hunts or conquers. Some simply stay kind when the world gets harsh. So tell me, after everything we've seen, from the falcon's fury to the flamingo's dance, which kind of strength would you choose? The one that dominates the sky, or the one that smiles quietly beneath it? And there you have it. 20 rare and beautiful wings of the desert kingdom. From the speed of the peregrine falcon to the quiet grace of the laughing dove, from pink mirages to midnight hunters, each bird carries a different face of Saudi Arabia, a country where survival itself becomes a kind of art. Out here, the heat can kill, the winds can erase, and water is a rumor that comes and goes. Yet somehow, life refuses to surrender. Every chirp, every glide, every echo in the dark is proof that beauty doesn't wait for comfort. It thrives in struggle. Maybe that's the lesson these birds are teaching us. Strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it's patience. Sometimes it's a song that keeps playing even when no one's listening. So the next time you see a flash of wings across a dusty horizon, remember, it might not just be a bird. It might be a survivor, a traveler, a king, or just a tiny heart refusing to stop beating in the sun. Now it's your turn. If you could live as one of these birds for a single day, would you soar like the falcon, dance like the flamingo, or simply stay and sing like the dove? Tell me in the comments, because every answer reveals the kind of wild still living inside you.